Hello, welcome. It's been a week of game announcements, new releases and upcoming projects that I'm excited about, so join me for this week's Cult of the News. We start this week with Corrosion being announced by Capstone Games, where 1 to 4 players will be building machines to stand the test of time. Not unlike a Nokia 3310 or some type of haunted watch. Smiling, you stand around your factory. So the game promo tells us, with the sweet sound of metal clattering and engines rattling, but the steam-filled air is your biggest enemy because of rust, which wants to eat away at your creations. It seems that in the game you'll either be playing cards or turning your factory's corrosion wheel. Playing cards will gain you new machines or engineers to upgrade and improve things, while turning the corrosion wheel will put your machines to work, return your engineers to your hand, but also represent time as gears begin to rust away. So you'll be constantly needing to coordinate your engineers and corrosion wheel while smoothly shifting from one efficient engine to the next. I like the look of this one. It sparked my interest and pre-orders are up now on Capstone Games website with upgrades and all that good stuff. This episode is sponsored in part by Legendary The Spy Who Loved Me, an expansion for the James Bond deck building game from Upper Deck. And in this new expansion, which follows the plot of the classic film The Spy Who Loved Me, the players join 007 in his battle against one of his greatest foes, the devil donning devious dental work, the mysterious man with the magnificent mandibles, the indestructible jaws. Additionally, face other notorious villains, complete epic missions, encounter perilous traps and pitfalls, and join forces with Bond's Russian counterpart, the extremely capable Agent Anya Amasova, as you battle to stop the evil madman Karl Stromberg. The Spy Who Loved Me expansion includes 120 cards and is coming soon to your local friendly game store, and by following the link in this video's description to upperdeckstore.com. At the beginning of last year, some big announcements were made about Stefan Feld partnering with Queen Games to create some reprints of some of his biggest titles to then take to Kickstarter. Bruges was now Hamburg, Macau was now Amsterdam, and Rialto was now New York City. But the one that I was most excited about was Marrakesh, because Marrakesh is a completely new title, and now we finally have some information about it. And it turns out that Marrakesh will have 2 to 4 players over 3 rounds of 4 turns, playing simultaneously and secretly cylinders from behind their player screen and using them to perform actions. But what really got me excited is that once these cylinders have been used, they go back into a cube tower before taking more from the cylinders that fall out of the tower. For those not familiar with the mighty cube tower, like in games such as Feld's wonderful Amerigo, the classic Shogun, or upcoming Frostpunk the board game, is a fundamentally underutilized agent of controlled chaos in board games that I love, so I'm pumped. And this all seems to be within a classic feeling Feld. So you'll be doing this all to trade for influence in the city of Marrakesh to get points. As we all know, love doesn't exist, but Fog of Love exists again, as it's joined the roster for Floodgate Games. Fog of Love was originally printed by Hush Hush Projects, but as that company went away, the game, like My Love Life, was stuck in limbo. But from winter 2021, you can get the original game and the 3 expansions, as well as the new expansion, Love on Lockdown, to explore. Unlike me, who lives alone. Made myself sad. That Time You Killed Me. Now that's a title that's more my speed. Has been announced by Pandasaurus, which is and I've not heard this one before, an abstract narrative game. In it, you and your foe are rival time travelers trying to erase each other from history to prove once and for all that you're the one true inventor of time travel. So your aim is to find your enemy in time and dispose of them. But of course, because it's time travel, there are multiple copies of your target strewn about the timeline, so you need to find them a lot and murder them repeatedly. That Time You Killed Me also has multiple scenarios to play through, but all revolving around the 3 boards of past, present and future that progress with escalating difficulty. This looks unique, which is why I wanted to mention it, and I'm looking forward to being confused when I play it at some point. Or maybe I've already played it. Time's a funny one. It's for 2 players and is out in Q2 of 2022. The Rocketeer Fate of the Future is the latest announcement from Funko Games, where they tell us that players will be engaged in an action-packed battle for the future of warfare as one player takes on the side of the Rocketeer and his allies, while the other plays as Neville Sinclair and his thugs. Sounds biased to me. Maybe Neville Sinclair's got a perfectly good reason to necessitate those thugs. It's based on the 1982 comic book character, then the 1991 film adaptation of that character, The Rocketeer, which is about a guy who finds a jetpack. This 2-player game will be out a little later this year, and honestly, the thing that made me talk about it is that box cover. Look at it. It's pretty rad. The Op have announced Disney's Kingdom Hearts Perilous Pursuit, which is to be a cooperative game. Side note, the Op really should have a separate division for cooperative games called the Co-op, right? Seriously, get it together, people. Kingdom Hearts Perilous Pursuit is based on the phenomenally successful mashup video game series from Square and Disney, which essentially takes Disney characters on a Final Fantasy style adventure. In this board game version, you'll play as Sora, Goofy, Donald Duck, who's the best Disney character, and it's not even close, Kairi and Riku, who need to work as a team to save the world by closing off the 6 worlds from the Heartless, who are trying to take over. I have some friends that I know will be insta-buying this game, and given the recent slew of games from the Op, I'm hopeful that this will be a solid family co-op game that Kingdom Hearts fans can enjoy later this year. There's so much been announced, so here's some quickfire games to look out for. Full Throttle is yet another big box game from prolific designer Friedman Fries, where you play as spectators of wild moped riders who are ready to race with their souped up mopeds, but as you know, it's incredibly dangerous to be a wild moped racer. So instead, you choose the safe way to enjoy these races, and that's gambling on them. This one had me interested because in Full Throttle, no one controls the mopeds, they're controlled by the game. You draft racing cars to use in your bettings, but the ones that you don't use will be used instead for the future movement of the mopeds. This just looks excellent and I'm very excited about it. Dubious is coming to us directly from Hobby World in a slight change to the Russian publisher's business model, as they normally come to other territories through partners. But in Dubious, which again has a banging front cover, doubt is in the air in this game with deduction, where players create a story for their character and attempt to get the majority of the players to guess their occupation and secrets. While at the same time, each player has to listen carefully to what others have to say about themselves and prove their detective finesse. I'm intrigued by this one. I'm looking forward to it sometime next year. Skyrise has been announced by Roxley, and what made me very interested in this one, it is a sequel to Sebastian Pouchon's spatial auction game Metropolis, which is a great classic game from Istari Games. And you might know the designer from Jaipur or Jamaica. And Skyrise will have 2 to 4 players placing numbered bids in neighbourhoods, forcing opponents out by backing them into corners on the board. And the sequel looks fantastic with a multi-layered modular board, and I can't wait to find out more about it. And Mobile Markets is the new game from Arcane Wonders and Cosmodrome, and is slated in many ways as Smartphone Inc. the card game, which is why I'm talking about it, because I love Smartphone Inc. I think it's an excellent game, so a new game in that line seems exciting to me. And while not much is known about it yet, it's definitely immediately high up on my radar. And finally, we're going over to Paula for some more serious board gaming news. And I'll let you know now that this topic includes the sensitive subject of sexual harassment. So that's all from me, and over to Paula.
Thanks, Matthew. You may have seen the recent allegations of sexual assault and harassment made against the CEO of the Broken Token, allegedly occurring during and after an employee's time working there. Links to the allegations and to CEO Greg Spence's response can be found below. This is the latest in what feels like a spate of stories of abuse and harassment that have come to light recently in the gaming and tabletop world. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean there's been a sudden uptick in harassment in our hobby, but rather that more people are feeling empowered to speak out about their experiences. If you have suffered or are currently suffering sexual assault or harassment, or are struggling with these topics and issues, please know that you are not alone. There is a link in the description with international resources for support that you can reach out to. If you're sitting there wondering what you can do to help our hobby be a safer place for everyone, I have a few thoughts on that. When someone comes to you to tell you they are uncomfortable in a situation or feeling unsafe in a certain environment or around a certain person, listen to them. Do what you can to help them be more comfortable. Go somewhere else with them, or ask the person making them uncomfortable to leave. Don't tell them to brush it off or to stop making it a big deal. If it wasn't a big deal, they wouldn't have brought it up to you. They need you to listen and to support them. If you see someone, especially if it's one of your buddies, being inappropriate in even a small way, say something to them about it. Tell them that joke isn't funny. Let them know they're making someone else uncomfortable or coming on too strong. They may not realize they're doing it. And if they do realize they're doing it, they now know that that behavior won't be tolerated. And that makes everyone safer. These small microaggressions left unchecked can escalate over time into abusive behavior if the person committing them sees that the community around them will tolerate it. That's why it's important for you to call out this behavior when you see it. Don't be the safe haven that a harasser or abuser uses to hide behind and access victims. If we work together and look out for each other, we can help make this hobby a safer, more joyful environment for all people. Thanks for listening.